Welcome to the Business Lounge podcast show. I'm your host, Jess Cassity, and today we have a special guest. We have Melissa, and she is a copywriter and a marketing strategist. So today we're going to be diving all into everything about copywriting and email. She is also a semi-retired rugby player, so I definitely want to dive into that a little bit too. She also creates ethical, science-backed sales copy and strategy that connects with audiences and has converted them to millions of dollars in revenue. So she also specializes in sales pages, launches, websites, and full-service email marketing. So let's get right into it. Hi, Melissa. Welcome to the show today.
Hi, Jess. Thank you so much for having me.
Yeah, what a pleasure. I'm so excited to talk to you today. And you have such a wealth of knowledge of so many amazing topics that really, can be such a pain part for a lot of us online entrepreneurs. So I would love for you to just dive in a little bit. Tell us, how you got started, who you are, what you do.
Yeah, definitely. So I'm Melissa Esmeralda, owner of MEO Marketing Group. I'm a copywriter, marketing strategist, and semi-retired rugby player. And what really got me into copywriting was a quarter-life crisis. I was a litigation for paralegal for 8 years, and I was making good money for a paralegal. I was at a big firm, but I knew for a while that it wasn't what I wanted to do. And so during that 8-year time frame, I was switching different areas of law, different firms, and it still didn't feel right. And I've been writing since I was a little kid. I wanted to write for a living, but I didn't know how to do that besides having a bunch of bestsellers. So I actually got a Facebook ad for copywriting, and I watched the masterclass, found it interesting, invested in a course. And after a while I thought, well, I think I could do this for a living. So I gave it a shot. And luckily, this was almost 3 years ago now, actually, where I quit my last job. And I've been fortunate, I haven't needed to go back. And I'm also fortunate in the sense that my first endeavor into entrepreneurship, I actually ended up really liking it because I know that's not the case for a lot of people, but entrepreneurship is a lot of fun. It's definitely a roller coaster all the time. But I wouldn't change it for anything else.
And you totally just kind of jumped in full time, full force without having a lot of experience. Is that how you would recommend to other people to just get into it?
I did do that. And to be honest, I don't recommend it only because it just kind of gives you a lot of different things you have to figure out. What I would have loved to do, I actually applied to a lot of marketing agencies, as a copywriter, but because I was brand new, nobody wanted to hire me, which I completely understand. But it would have been a lot easier if I had a year or two of agency experience, and then I went out on my own full time. But I was kind of at this crossroads where there were a lot of very stressful external factors in my life, and I kind of felt like I either had to make the choice now or I was going to stay stuck. So luckily I had some money saved up, so I was okay, but I was living alone at the time. So it was very stressful to not have this consistent income anymore. But anyone who's thinking of going to entrepreneurship full time, absolutely do it for a little bit first. Try to get as much experience as you can. If you're able to have some type of retainer model or a longer coaching container, for example, that's also really helpful, because that is the most frustrating part, is when you're doing really well. And then some months, especially in the very beginning, they don't feel as consistent as the rest of the months do. But as you gain more experience and you're in business longer, that happens a lot less.
Yeah. And I think that, what you said was, a lot of people can relate to when they're, getting into a new field of business. And that's, how do you get experience if nobody will hire you as a new person? Do you have any advice for, how to get started?
Yeah, tell everybody what you do. And at first it feels really weird because you've probably been in your career field for a long time. So trying anything brand new feels kind of awkward. And that's how I got my first client. I told someone I was testing products. It was just clothes and like makeup and stuff like that. And they said, okay, well, we're going to give your notes to the copywriter, and the copywriter will write up the article. And I go, oh, I'm a copywriter. And I had never said the words out loud before, and it felt so goofy. But they asked me to write a test blog for them, and they ended up being like a long running retainer client of mine. But like, if I never would have said anything, nothing would have happened. And I see that happen a lot, like not just with copywriters, but anyone who's brand new, just because it is such a catch-22. Like, of course, people want to work with someone who has some type of experience, but sometimes you just need somebody to give you a chance because you know more than you think, and getting that experience can teach you a lot about yourself too.
Yeah, and becoming confident in yourself can really lead other people to be confident in you.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that comes with time, just because again, like we're so used to doing other things, and we're doing this new thing. We're like, oh well, okay, cool, I got paid for it. And which is like a really fun moment the first time you get paid for something you really love doing. And then it just grows from there.
Yeah, oh my gosh, that is such an amazing thing to be able to do something you're passionate about. And I wish that everybody, realized that they really could take, whatever it is that they're passionate about, what they love, what they're good at, and turn that into a business.
Yeah, me too.
It would make everybody a lot happier in the world, I think.
Yeah, I think so. It makes such a fulfilling life, because there are many great things about entrepreneurship, but you can create something to the lifestyle that you want. So if you want to be a millionaire, you want to be on track for that, like there are resources to get you there once you get to like a certain level of success. But if you just want a business that will be able to give you like a freedom lifestyle, so you're able to have less interaction with clients, but able to travel more or spend more time with your family, you can absolutely do that. And you can change your mind whenever you want.
Yeah. And especially, in the world that we live in right now, with having so much access to online and, really just turning any type of passion into some sort of course or coaching. I mean, there's the craziest, courses out there these days that people have just found, other people that are passionate about it, whether it's gardening or knitting or, collecting rocks. I mean, there's, something for everyone, I think.
Yeah, which is true. And it's really cool because there is a lot that you can find on YouTube, but with courses, what's really nice that everything's already there in one spot. So you don't have to spend more time thinking, oh, well, I think I might need to know about this thing. I need to know about another thing. Of course, a good course should have everything that you need. So after you're done with that, like, okay, cool. Now I have everything I need to do, and I can do whatever it is that I'm striving to do.
Right. 100%. So let's switch topics just a little bit, because, one of your specialties is email marketing. And I think that is an area that people really do not give a lot of credit to, especially with social media. Everybody talks about social media, but I think, and I think you would agree with me, that email marketing should be like your main area, because it's something that you own, it's yours. And if your Facebook gets hacked, you'll still have all of your people.
Yeah, absolutely. And I think it's because before you get into a business of your own, you think of social media as something you use a lot, which is very true. There are millions and millions of people using social media, but about the same number of people also using email. And the thing that's frustrating with social media, it can be very lucrative if you already have a lot of followers, if you already have a lot of engagement and a ton of content coming out all the time, which in itself is extremely time consuming, and it can take years to get to that level. But with email marketing, you can have a relatively small list of maybe even just 1,000 people or a little bit more or less. And if you have some type of low ticket offer, or maybe even your main core offer that's a little bit higher ticket, you can still sell it to your list, and you don't have to be in business for like 5 or 10 years to start an email list, which I think is what a lot of people think of. But one of my copywriting mentors, she first started her email list when she was fairly new to business. So every week it was just like, oh, this is kind of what's been going on. And it felt very realistic, because instead of being subscribed to someone who's been in business like 15 years and is incredibly successful, there's something, I don't know, like it just feels nice to be able to see someone who is kind of like not too far ahead of you, but still doing really well, and makes things feel a little bit more realistic, which is essentially what I do with my subscribers too. Like I reach out to them every single week, and it feels like you're getting closer to them, because you are building a relationship rather than everything being so kind of salesy and automated, because I do think automations are very important. And of course, selling is important for all of our businesses, because we do have to make money, but there are ways to do it. And a way that feels right to you. Because if you don't like very salesy emails or very aggressive marketing, you don't have to do it. And that doesn't mean that you're not going to be successful. You just need a little bit different strategy that just aligns with you and your values, rather than trying to do something that maybe works for somebody else. And what's great about email lists is that you can do a lot of experimentation, and you don't really have to, once you have all the key components in place, you don't necessarily have to start from scratch. But as your audience grows, then maybe your business models might change a little bit. If you see that your subscribers are they have one issue that they need help with now, but in a couple of years, a little bit more sophisticated, you can create an offer that still speaks to that same audience, but they're a little bit further along. But then as you get in more people who are new, or just like these current subscribers were a couple of years ago, you can still sell to them as well. So like as your email list grows, it really helps with your business as you grow and as your list gets bigger.
And that really brings me to, segmenting your list and how you can choose, who you're talking to at the right time, so that you're not, if one part of your business is, behind the scenes life on the farm, but a big chunk of your list really isn't into that stuff, do you want to talk a little bit about, how you can do that, why it's important?
Yeah, segmenting is super important, but so is building a list of people who have a problem that you can solve. Because I've seen launches fail because they had a list that was a decent size, like a good enough size list for a launch. It was about 1,000 subscribers, but their list was mostly people that they used to work with, acquaintances, sometimes past clients, people that really weren't a good fit for their offer. So even though their offers, you can have a really great offer with great transformative results, but if you're not selling to the right people, it's almost impossible to sell it. And it's frustrating for the people going through that, because I think, oh, maybe my offer isn't good, which usually isn't true. You just need to have the right people on your list, and you have to warm them up to you and to your offer. So then once they start receiving emails from it, they're like, oh yeah, actually, this is what I'm going through. Like, this is what I've been looking for. Like, let me go ahead and purchase. Because otherwise, it can be continuously frustrating if you have a failed launch and then you think, oh, well, I need to have a completely new offer, when that's really not the solution. But segmenting, what's really nice about it, what it is just sending an email to your subscribers and then having them click one link in the email. It can be more than one if you want, but just kind of letting them self-identify where they are. Like in my segmentation email, for example, I have 4 different options, and I don't normally recommend more than 4 options, just because it might be a little bit confusing if you want to do some more advanced techniques like link trigger. So if they click a link, then it will put them in a certain email sequence and trigger that, because it is a lot of extra work initially. But I like to ask subscribers like where they are in business if they're newer. So they would be a better fit for like my lower ticket products because they're newer in business. But my number 2 option is people who have been in business for a little bit longer. So they're probably more suited for like my one-on-one services. My number 3 and my number 4 are for copywriters, just because eventually I do want to sell to copywriters, but like I'm working my way towards that part of my business. So always think ahead too. Like if you want to have a group coaching program, but you're an online service provider who isn't a coach yet, that is something to think about now in case that you do want to have an offer for that segment in the future. Because when it comes to like beta testing your course or your coaching program, for example, you already have a small pool of people that can go into a beta round of it and give you like real life feedback. They already have some type of a relationship with you, rather than trying to find someone in a Facebook group who you're kind of starting from scratch. So it helps you think ahead and kind of set the foundation now.
Yeah. And something that you said too about, making sure the right people are on your list is I have seen a lot with my clients and stuff. They've come in and they've had a lead magnet. And I mean, it could be a great lead magnet, but it does not speak to their ideal niche, their ideal client. And it's bringing in people that are not the right fit for them or their offer. And that's just setting them up for failure, because they're building an entire list of people that are not the right ones. They're going to mess up, their open rates, their click rates, their purchases. And I think that, it's really important to have a good starting point. So to make sure that who you're building that list with is the right people too.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And I think a lot of people get hung up on their lead magnet just because they understand it is really important. So they
Yeah.
might put something together that might be a little bit too simple. So people get, you don't want your new subscriber to feel underwhelmed, but at the same time, you don't want them to be confused with all this lingo, like industry jargon that they don't
Yes.
know, or it's purposely packed with information to overwhelm them in order to get a sale. Like you can still have a high quality product with a ton of value that's clear, that doesn't overwhelm a new subscriber, but makes them see like, oh wow, this person really knows what they're talking about. Like I wonder what their paid stuff is like, which starts the relationship on the right foot. Because then once you have your welcome email sequence, yes, you are introducing them to you and your business and what you do, but they also trust you more. But yeah, definitely having the right lead magnet, because I always recommend having a lead magnet that complements your core offer. So whatever your welcome email sequence is pointing to, whether it's a low ticket offer or like your one high ticket services, you want to make sure it can solve part of the problem, but not to the extent as the one-on-one services, because we know like that can help, like really help someone's business. But you want the lead magnet to be actually useful too, and not just be like a little list of resources that isn't really helping them out.
Yeah, it should basically, solve the what or the why, but just not the how, so that your offer, your course, your coaching, whatever it is, can, help them reach that point. Speaking of email too, there's been a lot of, I think, miscommunication or lots of different things out there in the world about the type of content that should be in, say, like a weekly newsletter or a monthly newsletter. And how do you feel, or what is your experience with putting pictures, too many pictures, links, and those sort of things in your emails? Because I think people, they want them to be so pretty, and they want them to look so good in the inbox. But I've heard a lot about how that can be, that can look as spam, and they go to the spam folders a lot when they have a lot of links and pictures.
Yeah, you're absolutely right. And like I completely understand why so many of us want to create that very beautiful design with maybe like a lot of links or a lot of pictures. But yeah, you do have to be careful, just because, especially if it's a shorter email and it's more pictures and links than anything else, it can trigger the spam filter. And once you start going there consistently, it's extremely difficult to get out. And eventually it might come to a point where that email address is pretty much useless. So then you have to start from scratch and redo like your authentication and your email deliverability and stuff, which can be a little bit of a headache if you don't know how to do it yourself. I think, well, I know there are studies that have shown that plain text email, so just like a basic looking email that doesn't have any pictures in it, except for maybe a signature, those outperform very design heavy emails. I think the exception might be e-commerce, which makes sense because they usually have a lot of different products in their emails. What I like to recommend is creating an email template, having some type of banner that has at least the name of your business and your logo, maybe a picture of you, and then it has your body copy, and then you have a signature that has your headshot, what you do, and then maybe like a little PS section leading your subscriber to some of your paid offers. Just giving them the option, like a low ticket offer and like your one-on-one services, just because some people are slower decision makers and they're going to be on your list for like a year or two
Oh, yeah.
before they make a purchase. So if they have an email like a year from now, they're like, oh, okay, I really like what Melissa said today, and that's the day that they decide to work with you. But other people are faster decision makers, and you don't want them to go through a bunch of hoops trying to like Google your name or like go straight to your website. You want to make sure you make it as easy as possible for them to take the next step.
And I feel like that's pretty doable. I mean, what you mentioned, that's, a pretty good combination of, text and image and links to your offers and stuff. Because I think when people are like, oh, we can't put any links, like, how are we going to get them to go where we want them to go?
Yeah, you can use links, even the same link multiple times. If I have a long email, I might have something at the very top that says, this is a long email today, but a lot of information, scroll through to the end. Or if I'm promoting something and it happens to be a longer email, I'll let them know from the very top. I just have a little box and say, this is the link to XYZ summit, for example, that I'm promoting. So for like those fast action decision makers, they're probably not going to read the email. That's fine. Other people will. There are people like the slower decision makers, for example, they'll read the whole thing and they're like, oh, okay, that actually sounds like something that I think I could benefit from. And then they go to the link. So you do want to keep those people in mind.
Speaking of, that being too long and, didn't read and stuff, how do you feel about, putting the TLDR like at the bottom for the too long, didn't read, like, here's your little, overlook of it?
I do that sometimes because like I feel like my emails for the most part aren't super long. But if I know that it's longer than normal, that I'll include that in there. And like, I think that's a good idea, just because sometimes people, they just want the bullet points and maybe they just don't have time to read it right now. So having like a little summary, I think works really well. And people appreciate it too, because like, I always think it's funny seeing those.
I know. And I feel like a lot of people know what that means now. And, it makes sense. I mean, if it's, unless your audience is, not into trendy type of things and stuff, and then it might not vibe very well with your business.
Yeah.
Okay. One more question about emails is, how often do you think that people should be sending them?
That's a great question, because to be honest, there's no correct answer. Like a lot of things in emails, like with the welcome email sequence, there's no like set number you should send, because it depends on your offer. But as many emails that you can stick to. So if you have a really busy schedule and maybe you're not full-time in your business yet and you can only send realistically one email a month to your newsletter or to your list, then that's completely okay. If you have the time to do at least one email a week, I would do that. Like I do that and it works really well. Sometimes I send a little bit more. Some people like to send every single day. That's usually a business that's been around for a few years. They have multiple offers, but it also takes a special type of subscriber to stick around and read every single email every single day. I think at least once a week is good. And it also goes with your welcome email sequences too. You don't want the emails to come like flooding their inbox, when your cadence, once they're out of that welcome email sequence, is every couple of weeks, because you want them to be familiar with the timing of your emails, because then they know like when to hear from you and what to expect. But generally, if it feels like it's taking up too much of your day to write a couple of emails a week, that's fine. You can always start with one a month or two a month and then work your way up from there. But at least once a week, maybe twice, that's usually a really good base for your subscribers to like understand that you're going to reach out to them, how often, and then they, at that point, they probably understand like what they're receiving from you. So then you start building a list of subscribers who really look forward to hearing from you.
So do you think that, I said one more, but I'm going to ask another one. Do you think that people should have a newsletter and then, something separate for like their welcome sequence? Or is it okay to put, some of your sales stuff or your products in your newsletter?
Newsletters are super popular right now. I know a lot of people love them because they're monetizing them, because they're being treated as like newspapers essentially, where they're selling ad space, they have sponsors, all that stuff. I don't always love newsletters, just I think sometimes they're a little bit long. But if you have a similar structure and it's the same every week or every month or however often you send it, people will remember that. So if there's a certain section that they like, they'll scroll down there before anywhere else. I always recommend having a welcome email sequence if you're going the lead magnet route, just because it should point to a paid offer and then receiving your emails after that. For a newsletter, they don't always have a lead magnet, especially if it's like hyper niche, which is super popular right now. They just like to have a really short blurb telling them exactly what the newsletter would be about, and they don't get a welcome sequence. They just get the newsletter, but they usually have access to past some newsletters have already been sent. So that's pretty enticing to a lot of people. But you can absolutely sell your services, whether it's in email or like an email blast, or if it's in a newsletter. But just have a good balance of selling and then also nurturing as well, because I think a lot of us feel turned off when every single email we receive, when it's not a launch period for like a new offer, a new product, is a sales email.
Yeah. Yeah, I agree. I think, the world is so loud and, congested right now that everything feels like people are just always selling you stuff all the time.
Yeah, exactly. And people love seeing the human side of a business. And that's why I think it's important to like, you don't have to be super vulnerable, but even just sharing an experience where maybe something just didn't go well today, or like you took a risk in business and didn't go well. I think people really resonate with that, because we hear all these success stories all the time, and that's great. Like I'm happy for everyone who's been successful, but it's also nice to hear someone say like, yeah, I messed up, but it's okay. Business is still working out. You just have to learn from it.
Yeah. And I think too, like behind the scenes stuff is fun. And I also believe, that especially, if you're in the online business realm and stuff, you're constantly seeing other people who are in online businesses. And I feel like a lot of people, kind of, it's a lot of, fake it till you make it kind of stuff. So everybody is, like high ticket sales, or, has all these amazing offers, has tons of clients, they've helped everybody. And it almost makes it kind of feel like you don't believe anybody because it's so positive, and maybe it's not always truthful, but it just doesn't feel real. So I think showing when things don't go quite as well, that makes it a little bit more real and honest almost.
Yeah, exactly. And marketing is built on trust. Like your subscriber or your potential client, they have to trust you as an authority and someone that can actually help them. And now it's kind of gone the opposite way. Of many people are distrusting of everybody, and the sales sequence is a little bit longer. But I mean, also everything's very expensive right now, so it's understandable why the sales journey is a little bit longer. But things shift and change all the time in marketing. I don't think that's permanent, but you do also have to be mindful of what's going on currently and how long it's taking for people to buy things, because otherwise you're going to get really discouraged if you have this really exciting great product but maybe your launch strategy wasn't what it should have been, and you received a little bit less sales than last year, for example. But thankfully, like, we can all learn from our mistakes and then just redo it again and get better results.
Yeah, and probably the conversation is a little bit different if you're business to business or business to consumer a little bit too, because business to business, you can talk a little bit more about the language of business stuff, where, the consumers and stuff, they really do like a lot of the behind the scenes stuff that is relatable, like more of the mom stuff, or things like that too, where, the business stuff, like we like to hear, the business fails, the business successes, and, how you do it all, and tie it all together.
Yeah. It's definitely something that you should keep in mind, because again, like, once you start having an email list and you segment your subscribers, you kind of know where they're at in business. You can segment them multiple times, send them polls, just send them different links. You want to get some type of interaction so you can get to know them a little bit more. And I personally love getting replies from my emails from subscribers, because you get to know them a little bit and they feel more like real people, and then you feel more like a human to them, and it just keeps on building the relationship.
Yeah, I love that. Okay, so that's, we went in a lot about email marketing and everything, but you also do a lot of different, things with launches and sales pages and websites. So do you want to talk a little bit about, your services and your packages, and what it would look like for somebody to work with you?
Sure. Yeah. So I do a lot of email marketing, a lot of sales pages, but also do SEO optimized website copy. I do have a new service that I'm testing out. They're VIP days, but they're strictly for email sequences. And that is like kind of like a precursor if we start working together on a retainer basis. So for the VIP day, you get up to 6 emails done for you within a day. And then if we work on a retainer basis, you get that full campaign strategy. But you're also having all the email design, the automation, taking a look at the data and analytics. And I do that for you just because I know it's important, but a lot of business owners don't enjoy it because it's not the most exciting thing for them, even though the data itself is really valuable.
Yeah, and I think, when it comes to copy and stuff, like if it is not your zone of genius at all, like for me, it is not. It's almost like math. Like I just avoid it. I cannot connect with copy at all because it's very black and white. And I feel like, if I have an offer or something, like I just want to share it, this is what it is, this is what it can do. And, as somebody who does read a lot and love learning and educating and stuff, I still completely lack those fuzzy filler words that really, caress the packages all up and like, speak deeply to people. So, if you are not, good at copy, you're not good. Like there's just no like real in between. You need help. You need a professional.
It's different because I mean, like, copywriting isn't like writing an essay at school. Like, it's kind of like breaking all the rules from everything you've learned. So people really struggle with that in the beginning. But that's also what makes it so much fun.
Yeah. Yeah. And it's just one of those things where people really have to bring in professionals in different areas that, that they connect with. And as solopreneurs, you can only do so much yourself. But that also brings me to Melissa was so kind and she brought a couple of things that she's going to share with us today. And one is going to be a freebie for you guys. And also, she has a really awesome masterclass that I'm going to let her tell you guys about. So if you want to tell the audience a little bit about both of those.
Yeah, thank you. Yeah, I have a lead magnet. It's called 10 subject line formulas for attention grabbing emails. And it doesn't just give you the formula, it also talks about when to best use it, why it's effective, but also includes some bonuses in there, like some psych hacks to help build your credibility, how to get better testimonials from your clients, just because that's important for the copy on your website and your sales pages, but also for emails as well. And it's good for writing emails to your email list, but if also sending maybe cold emails to a potential client, it can really help with that as well. And I also have a $27 masterclass. It's called How to Create Your Own High Converting Sales Funnel, and talks about over like the big hitters in your business. So like your website, your sales pages, your emails and everything, and gives you the foundational information that you need in order to create everything, even if maybe you already have a website in place, for example. It's only $27, but I packed it with information just because when I first started my business, because I didn't have a whole lot of experience in anything, I created because I really wish I could have known those things. So the goal is always to create something that somebody can walk away with and be like, okay, this was everything that I needed in order to get to the next step. So I had a lot of fun creating it. And then every time that I upgrade it, I always resend it to anybody who's already purchased it.
Oh, wow. That's awesome. It's like almost like lifetime access with free updates. I love that. Well, we're going to share all of the links. We're also going to share everything so that if you want to connect with Melissa, I'm sure you need her in your life for
Yeah.
your website and your email and everything copy. So we're going to share how to get in contact with her. We're also going to share that freebie with you and her masterclass. So that way you have everything to move ahead and get started with all of that.
Awesome. Thank you so much.
Yeah, absolutely. And thank you so much, Melissa, for having a time to come on our show today and talk to everybody about this stuff. You know, email lists and everything I think are just so important these days. So I really appreciate that.
Yeah, definitely. Thank you so much for having me. This is fun.
Thank you. All right, everybody, we will see